Good evening. Welcome to the Coaching Rebellion podcast. This is going to be episode number 2, and I'm here with a really good friend of mine, Parshan, Rayatkah. Parshan and I go way back, and from our playing days, and so now as adults, we've gotten into the coaching sphere. Actually had the opportunity to help you guys out a little bit last season. So Parshan, thank you for agreeing to be a guest, man.
Anytime.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Love what you're doing, man.
I appreciate that, man. It means a lot. And again, I reached out to a lot of people about, what this project was going to be all about. And it's just trying to find ways to continue to connect with players, even if I can't physically be on a field impacting in any way. I think when you have the ability to still talk to people and get messages across, utilizing the tools like social media and putting stuff out there to help people, you never know who you're going to impact. So it's a big responsibility that as coaches we continue to just try and pay forward. So again, it means a lot for you to jump on. But Coach, walk me through kind of where you're at in your life right now, what you're doing, anything that you may be working on, and maybe touch a little bit on your guys' season last year too, because there's some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, in terms of getting ready for the upcoming season, not doing too much right now. Just most of the kids I let them focus on club while that's going on. I think it's important for them to obviously take care of their academics while they're now enrolled in school.
Yeah.
But the kids that are playing club, I like to give them their space to an extent. Obviously, I'm here if they ever need me, but I try to let them focus on club. I'm here if they have questions with anything or how their development's going or any technical things that they like to go over. But I would say for the most part, we're just gearing up. Coach JC's been helping out a lot, so we're doing a lot of administrative stuff. That's kind of, once the season ends, let's say, lately it's been better ending in, March or end of Feb. That means we've done okay. But once the season ends, we kind of take a decent break, kind of refresh our minds because we do, it's a big commitment. There's psychologically, you're ready for that break. And then we don't really dig in too much. That's the beauty of, I like the high school coaching aspect of, 6 months on, I would say 6 months off to an extent.
Yeah.
We still have, like I said, mentioned some administrative stuff here or there, but we're just gearing up, being as planned as possible, trying to stay on top of the kids. We obviously, being Hayward High School, having student athletes there, we struggle at times with the academic side for them to even have eligibility to play. So we're doing a better job of staying on top of that. Obviously having coaches and assistants as faculty helps big time.
Yeah.
It's been immense. But I am trying to do a little bit of a better part, just keeping in touch on that front, checking in with those faculty members, the resources we do have, and just trying to be on top of, and because you always get caught with the surprise. So I think we're trying to plan better to not have those surprises.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're doing right now. The kids kind of got their feet wet with school. They obviously have to adapt to the new grade or whatever upcoming challenges they may have in their life. So we just try to show accessibility to an extent while giving them their space, especially the club kids. And then gearing up, your brother did some big things with helping us over summer training program. So that was big. And then just kind of gearing up with conditioning coming up soon.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of getting the schedule written, getting that kind of teed up. We've been spending some time on that, but just kind of getting ready to go and being ready to turn that switch on when we need to.
Cool. Well, you mentioned two things that stood out to me. Number one, the academics, and again, having seen the program myself, we know what the area is kind of comprised of, right? So you've got some economical factors that usually always kind of put people at a disadvantage, and so the thing that I always kind of come back to is why coaching is so important in these schools is because we need to have these, positive role models. We need to be able to not only show kids that there is a way to better their circumstances, but when you have them in front of you, it's showing them a real life example, right? So for yourself, like you're a product of the city of Hayward, right? My brother, myself, San Lorenzo, San Leandro locally. We know that there's ways to not let the circumstances that you come from dictate where you're going, right? And that's really the biggest message that I think, we try to underscore with these kids coming in. Number one, some of them don't understand what the program is all about. So you guys do the educational component. I saw a picture that my brother sent me about the meeting that you guys had. Dude, that's a massive turnout.
Absolutely.
It is a massive turnout. And I don't think you get that type of turnout unless they are either being welcomed by a group of people that are telling them, hey, let me show you something. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's really what I admire about what you do, because these kids are looking for it. They're hungry for somebody to just latch onto and go, okay, like this person actually cares about me. They're going to show me the way. And, sport is a big vehicle for that. So coaches, to me, have a real big responsibility on their shoulders. And when you have these kids come through the programs and, by the time they get to graduate, you had a ton of seniors that you guys are, graduating, moving on to the next level. So now you've got this incoming wave of students that not only are they looking at the success of what you guys were able to do, because you guys had a fantastic season last year.
Absolutely.
Right? But the little things, the summer program, being able to continue to stay together, the continuity of things, and seeing what a program is supposed to look like, that sort of stuff really doesn't happen everywhere. And so when you start to kind of piece it all together, and you guys are onto something there, right? And that's the beauty of kind of watching this stuff. But really just my hat's off to you for, how long have you been coaching over there now?
I started as an assistant in, I believe it was 2016, 17, something along those lines. A good friend of mine, Tommy Turner, was coaching the program there. I actually asked him if I can assist, just say, hey, I've always wanted to do it in the back of my head. The opportunity never worked out, and but I wanted to dabble in it, and he was thoughtful enough to allow me to join the staff. And we had a great group of kids that first year. I believe they graduated 2018, now that I recall, so 17-18 season. And we just, those kids kind of set it off and kind of sparked. We had a really good group. I believe out of that team, 7 of the kids got into high profile institutions or UC state schools. And just from comparing that to my experience as a player there, the kids really impressed me and were way more mature than me and a lot of my teammates were. And they kind of showed me that, look, like you said, like just whatever the demographic or socioeconomic background they have, like some of these kids already have it. Like you don't need to come and show them that they get it already. So that was huge for me, where it was like, well, you don't, like 7, and not to a lot of the other kids are doing exceptional work, and one's a police officer. So they have the right mentality, that group. I'd say the best thing for a coach is when you come in and sometimes you feel like you don't have to coach. And I've learned, throughout the progress, it's kind of rare for the kids to just step up and say, like, we want this. Probably, make it feel like they want it more than you, and that's awesome. So that first year, I got to see a group of seniors specifically kind of bond together. They had a great relationship. They allowed me to get in it as one of the boys to an extent.
That's key.
Yeah, it was fun, as being the fun uncle as the assistant coach. But those kids really inspired me to look into this further and to try to push the envelope a little bit. And I give them a lot of credit. and all the kids that I've gone through the program that have had that mentality and put in that work, it's huge. Like we talked about a little bit, you mentioned, like I do strongly believe that 14 to 18-year-old age gap is, I think it's a very vulnerable age. And I think you're, potentially one decision, you can make a really good decision to set yourself up for the rest of your life, or you can make a bad one that'll hold you back. So I do try to be a positive influence and tell the guys like, hey, no one's perfect, but if you set these specific characteristics and kind of processes in your life of hard work and having goals and setting up plans to accomplish those goals, I really believe that the tools to win as a soccer team is the same thing that's going to help you succeed in life.
Big time.
So
big time. And you're planting those seeds, right, for some of these kids, and you're giving them those life lessons. So yeah, man, I couldn't agree with you more. Do you ever have players come back to help out with the program?
Yeah, absolutely. As of late as well, given we've had some more successful teams, you see why. Obviously, leadership is a big thing. Not only coaches as leaders, but the leaders on the team.
Yes.
I think it's the most important aspect. If you don't have leaders on the team, then they're not going to respect the coaching or follow the plan. So I've been very fortunate to have some guys through the program that had that mindset, that understood, what the model was and what we were trying to push across. And, they come back and help out as much as they can. They're in team meetings and practices. I kind of have an open door policy, especially with the kids that put in the work when it was their time. And I tell these kids, like, you have an ally for the rest of your life. If you ever need anything, I'll do whatever I can to help you. You give me what you can on the field, and during that time when we're committed, and a good amount do come back. Yeah, and I expect us to have more this year, actually. So
that's awesome. And having seen that firsthand with you, even as you guys are kind of getting ready for that end of season push, you've got NCS kind of rolling around, and the fever pitch is starting to kind of culminate, you know what I mean? And so it's like, it's almost an inevitable feeling of like, all right, guys, like, we're getting ready for bigger and better things. And all of a sudden, like, this little magnet, people just start kind of pouring in. But it's always good to see players coming back. And I think that is an element of a strong program.
Absolutely.
Right? When you've got players that they could be off doing whatever else. Again, life can take you in a million directions. But for you to go, no, I'm going to make a concerted effort to come back, spend my time with my coach, with former teammates, really,
that's
you know what I mean?
was
Because you've
highlight.
got that drop off, and so they're also going and exploring the college life, but there's still that just freshness of having just left, their old teammates, and so there is some of that. And as an athlete, like, you want to be around your guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's it. You literally, that was the next thing I was going to mention is I've had some really mature guys through the program throughout the years, and some of those guys have verbally mentioned that to me, that they're trying to make a presence because those guys, gave a lot for them to, get to that league championship or just even compete for it. Mm-hmm. They didn't take that for granted. They remembered it a year later, and they're trying to offer their support. And I think, what more could you ask for as a teammate?
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. And so again, you mentioned the open door policy, right? And I think when you do that, not only are you potentially preparing these kids to, maybe go down the coaching role themselves.
Absolutely.
When you start to open that door a little bit, and especially guys that are just really about, the sport, when they kind of realize, like, I can do this, and they start seeing things from your vantage point, the feedback sometimes that they provide is also refreshing, right? Because we've seen things a certain way for so many years that every once in a while you have to go, like, what do you think about this? And that fresh perspective, I think, is what usually kind of keeps things kind of healthy. I tried this one year when I was at San Lorenzo. It was the funniest thing ever. We had this kid that he had gotten, if I'm not mistaken, he had gotten a red card. And so for the next game, I said, "You're coaching." I literally told him, I was like, "You're coaching. I'm going to sit on the sideline and I'm going to read a book. You're in charge of the team." And we went to San Leandro High, and this kid put together a lineup, and he just blew me away with everything that he did, and they wound up winning that game, and I was like, holy crap.
That's awesome.
That was awesome. You know what I mean? I'll never forget that. But then all of a sudden you're like, okay, if we give these kids the keys and just show them a little bit of empowerment, all of a sudden you can make, big, meaningful impact and change. So, yeah, man, I'll never forget that, dude. That was epic. And even the other players, from time to time will come back if I run into them. "Hey, remember when we played San Leandro and you sat down and just read your book and we totally won the game? We didn't even need you." And I'm like, "Thanks a lot." But, just a great experience for that kid, to be able to say that.
Absolutely.
Speaking of, kids that make an impact, I noticed last season towards the end that you had a goalkeeper that just phenomenal, right? Mm-hmm. And then has a basically senior year changing injury. Yeah. And you guys had to scramble. Walk me through that.
Oh man,
I can only imagine what was going on in your head.
The whole scenario was mind-boggling at the time, and I'll just share the story a little bit. 4-year varsity starter. Okay. So it's his senior year. He's, to my understanding, never played on the field, and we had a matchup that we thought, there's a potential that. We'll be able to get some subs in or guys that don't get as many minutes. And, he discussed it before the game with me. He said, "Coach, if we're up, can I get in?" I think I was being maybe a little hard-nosed about it at first, but I knew I didn't want to, it's a tricky thing. You don't want them to take anyone lightly either because of what I said so I told them just focus on the game. But in the back of my head, I was like, maybe this will be his opportunity. He's done a lot for the program and a huge asset for us. So that was it. 10 minutes, 12 minutes left in the game, something close to that. We get him some time, and unfortunately he had a freak accident. So first thing, to be honest, I'm not just trying to say this because obviously we're being filmed, but I wanted to make sure he's okay.
100%.
I don't even know if I thought about the season two. I mean, obviously you're devastated, but it's more like what just happened to this kid. Mm-hmm. Especially if going through, multiple knee surgeries. I've been there, especially at that age. Yeah. It's tough mentally for anybody. So I wanted to make sure he was okay. I think that was the hardest part of it. Knowing what he gave, what he committed, his dedication, his discipline for 4 years, you can't ask for much more than that. Yeah. In a vital position of if you can't fill that spot, you're not going to compete very well. Yeah. But I don't. In terms of the scrambling aspect, I had a captain a few years ago. We had a similar predicament where we made NCS. We made NCS quarterfinals, and for whatever reason, guys, some didn't make grades, some were injured. We were scrambling to field a team for the furthest game that Hayward High School boys soccer, varsity soccer has ever. Yeah. We've had multiple teams that made it to NCS the second game, but never farther than that. Mm-hmm. We had a second round game at Richmond, and we could barely field a team. We're calling up pretty much anyone from JV that wants to come up for the most part. And actually, I believe, to my understanding, two of them, or one of them, started that game and played significant minutes. Wow. Never played on varsity before, and I think we have multiple on the bench. But long story short, I go back to the player, and I was the one just like, oh my goodness, like we went this far, and it's like I can't even feel the team. I'm stressing out, and he feels it, and he said, Coach, you know what? Like, F it, we ball. He's like, we're just gonna play. Whoever's out there, whatever team we have, like we're gonna ball out. And what more can you ask for? And he did, and he was a leader. Obviously, the teammates followed.
Yeah.
Those kids, I think we lost 2-1 to my understanding, but those kids gave everything they had, and that was a win in itself to me.
Yeah, big time.
So going back, I would just say, like, yeah, you run into these scrambling situations, especially later on in the season, and it's never fun. But I will say that a former player helped me to prepare for that in the future with the way he interpreted the scenario at the time.
Yeah.
And like I tell these kids too sometimes, like, I'll learn from you too.
Yeah.
So I'm a stressor. My brain is spinning. I'm thinking worst case scenario, and he was calm. He was so calm.
Yeah.
I go to him and, like, just to vent to my captain, and he's like, Coach, he's like, forget it. We're gonna ball. It's like, whatever it is, I don't care who's out there. We're ready.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Like, okay.
So who winds up filling in the gap?
In terms of what
for that position, as you guys are getting towards the end of the season?
The keeper?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, we immediately we pull a player from JV. Well, I believe he was the starting goalie at the time for JV. I'm not fully. I don't recall it. I think he was. So coincidentally, the first game we have back after we pull the JV guy, he plays the first game, and then the grades come out. So he's no longer an option because he didn't make grades.
That's right.
And then we had a freshman keeper step up on the football team. He was a football player. To my understanding, he might have played competitive soccer in middle school, like for the middle school team, but I think that was his first run on it.
Yeah.
And he stepped up wonderfully. Like, you really couldn't ask for more for a freshman who's never played soccer to an extent to go in and serve as the starting keeper for a championship contending team, and doing a great job at it as well. So couldn't ask for more in that situation, but it was a lot to ask for him. It says a lot for a 14-year-old to step up in that environment. And handle the mental part of that, stepping in for a 4-year keeper and barely played, and you're just in the middle of, like,
the weight of that stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean, he could have easily said, like, I'm good.
Easily.
I'm gonna stay on JV and hang out with my buddies and get better and learn.
Yeah.
He didn't question it, and you got to give a lot of credit for that. And we still had a very successful season, making NCS again, back-to-back years, winning the first game, going to the second round. We fell slightly short on the league championship, but I mean, like, these things happen.
That's the game of soccer, man.
Yeah,
you never know.
You don't know, especially, given the high school perspective of it. It's like, kids get hurt, kids don't make grades, kids have family things going on. It's like all this happens in that short span of time. It's like you do the best you can, you field the best 11 you think you have, and a lot of it is just heart. Who wants it more, and our guys have time and time again stepped up to that challenge, and win or loss, like, if you put everything out there, I'm happy with it.
You really can't ask for more, right? And I'm happy to hear you say that, because, and it's not to bad mouth other coaches, but it's to point out that there's coaches out there interested in my opinion, the wrong things, right? If you take the role of a coach, it's to help prepare players for the next level, and not just in sport, but in life. Right? And when you throw that out the window and all you care about is the winning, yes, winning is a byproduct, right? Everybody loves the win. Name me one coach that hates winning, and okay, I'm going to question everything about that person, right? But the big thing boils down to when you do things in a proper way, when you set up culture, when you set up a program, when you have people coming back, when you talk about now you've had consistency with players year after year, always competing at a high level, well, that right there is the proper preparation, right? If it was just this hard-nosed, we're going to win at all costs, that's going to turn some people off, right? You don't really get through to a player. And I've seen programs where, that's all they care about. And what about the development of the kid at the end of the bench, right? There's no way a JV freshman goalkeeper is going to see the light of day on a varsity championship contending team anywhere, unless it's, we've kind of prepared for this thing because we know where we're at, we know the environment, we know what's around us, and I saw that. I was beyond proud of the kid because I had an opportunity to work with him firsthand. But again, that mindset of he stepped up, big time, right?
You got to.
Some people would have folded.
Oh yeah, at 14 years old, in his situation, I don't know if I would have done the same. Yeah. Especially it's one thing if you played the position your whole life, this is what you do. Yeah. You're almost 14. Some of these kids come in very prepared, ready for the next level step. Yeah. But with him, I think it was more just I want to stay active. I'm an athlete, and to have that mentality of sure, why not? Yeah. When the easy route is to say no, there's too much pressure involved. Yeah. I don't want to make a mistake. Yeah. Instead of just saying he didn't question it at all. Yeah. So that's a lot of credit.
Well, and the even more rewarding, at least from my vantage point, was seeing when the other teammates embraced him, knowing what the challenge was. Yeah. When he had big saves or big games and big moments, they were hyping him up. Yeah. He was one of them. It wasn't oh, you're the outcast or anything like that. It was, dude, you stepped up and you helped us out. Awesome. We appreciate you for that. And you could sense that, right? It wasn't fake or anything like that. So that was a beautiful thing to kind of watch. It's unfortunate, like you said, for your other goalkeeper to have gone through that. You work your entire high school career to get to that point. You're going to try and end it on a winning season, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. And it's brutal.
Well, it's a big life lesson. You can't control everything, and your life can really just change in the blink of an eye.
In an instant.
So I really tried to utilize it as a learning opportunity for them because I had seen it before, right? We've been around the block. But for these, for an 18-year-old kid that this is his life, he didn't see this coming, So it's more so you want to try to say the right things to keep them in the right headspace because they're not only obviously is the team dealing with, losing one of their guys and their go-to and a leader. Now that, kid is now isolated to an extent and dealing with those thoughts, constantly.
Big time.
So as sad as it is, it's part of life. And I hope all the kids involved learn something from it.
Oh, big time. And there's that maturity level too from being a senior and having seen it all. You could tell that, he was on the sidelines with his crutches jumping up and down. So he was just as happy as if he was on the field or not.
Without a doubt.
Because he lived through it vicariously through whoever was on the field. It's not like he was foreign to the team. No. He understood.
Oh, absolutely.
We've all been there. So, but again, one of those moments that just stuck out to me. I was just dude, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of adversity. We lost our starting striker. It was top goal scorer last 2 years in a row. That was we lost him, I believe, on senior night in the first half. So he missed the championship game. He missed the NCS games. Yeah. These things happen, and unfortunately, we dealt with a lot of adversity last year. But end of the day, I'm proud of the boys, and I really hope that they'll cherish those memories with that team for the rest of their life.
Big time. So. Big time. Speaking of adversity, I think this topic for me, again, we talk about some of the challenges that kids from the area may encounter. Biggest thing is transitioning to high school, right? Alone on its face, regardless of whether you play a sport or not, junior high to high school, there's always just this weird, like,
Oh yeah.
evolution, right? Of you as a person trying to figure out what this new thing, because you're walking into a place where there's people literally, going into adulthood on their way out the door, and a mindset of like, I was just like doing recess,
Yeah, pre
working on things that have nothing to do with
No.
this, seniors potentially facing down the road. So that always just is a mind-boggling concept to me, that it's like, all right, you go from here to, whoa, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, like, you got to absorb it all, and again, it's sink or swim. You got to figure it out. But for incoming freshmen, what's messaging that you would give them, especially those that are first timers trying to come and play a sport that maybe you wish you had, or just in general to kind of help prepare them?
I would say, obviously, I tell every team this multiple times. Unfortunately, I wish I could just say it once, but I say being a student athlete is a privilege, right? Student is the first part of that term. Mm-hmm. So unless you're not, taking care of your if you're not taking care of academics, then there is no soccer.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's just how it works. So I would say, obviously, get your priorities straight. Figure out the right schedule, routine to take care of the academic side, and whatever goals you may have. I tell these kids, I don't think college is for everybody, as much as that's the path that I look forward to and went. And I think there is a ton of opportunities utilizing that method. I don't think it's for everyone. Mm-hmm. I think, occupational education is just as important for some of these guys.
Big time.
So in that sense, like, the basic school curriculum might not be for them.
Yeah.
But I say, look, you're 14 to 18 years old. What else are you going to do from 8 to 3 p.m. every day? We can't just let you roam around and, like, some can't even make a grilled cheese or something, So I say, look, you have to do something within this time. So I'm not saying you have to love it, but figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, figure out how your brain works, how the things you want to prioritize, but make sure school academics is not an issue. Yeah. Show up to class, right? Participate when you can, do all your assignments. I'm not even saying go study hard for tests or anything like that. I'm saying you take care of the things you could control, and you'll be fine. So I think that's first and foremost for the kids trying to transition. Figure out the academic side, figure out your routine, and how are you gonna, if you are a soccer player or this is where you want to gear your attention towards, figure out how to prioritize. Well, now this is my academic schedule. This is what I need to do to take care of, the student side. Where can I fit in training, and how much do I want to train, and go from there. So I think everything is just kind of outlining it properly, setting your goals and expectations. Like, what do you want out of this scenario? So I would say that, like, with the young guys, figure that out, get your routine together, because it's going to change, right? 8th grade to 9th grade is a big difference.
Yeah.
There's more resources with the school that you could take advantage of. Now, Hayward High isn't what it was 20 years ago. Now, these kids are taking, sound engineering classes or guitar, and there's so many different things that they're being able to expose themselves to, which I would have loved to.
That right there, you would have loved to.
Yeah, but that's me saying this as a near 40-year-old man.
Correct.
At 14 to 18, would have I done it? I don't know.
Yeah, but again, the fact that there's been this evolution, right, to understand that there are other things that people can do, right? And sometimes we get stuck in the old traditional way of it's so regimented. You're going to take this class, that class, and then you're going to walk out the door and you're going to go to college for 4 years. And it was just like, no, it's like,
it doesn't work that way.
Find out what you're good at, like you said. That to me is sound advice, right? Because some people have natural talents that they never get a chance to even sniff out.
Absolutely.
Right? Or even like try something that they may think that they're good at. Go try everything.
Yes.
Right?
Without a doubt.
Because you never know what you're going to stumble upon. I mean, I can think back to my brother, my youngest brother, Adrian, who, the dude's just doing killer work right now. And when I watched his progression as a student athlete, right, the one thing that I always saw him gravitate to was art, right? Just always drawing, sculpting, making something. He would bring back a project and look at this. And I remember like years later, like, we found this portfolio of all this stuff that he had done. And I'm like, this is amazing stuff, right? And now we fast forward to what he's doing now, and it's just literally his personality coming through artwork, right? He's doing digital media stuff that I'm just like, bro, this is amazing.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And so it's just naturally him, and you can see his personality come out in his work. And, the funny conversation that happened before he went down that path was, I'm going to go study business. Nothing wrong with that.
That's very.
But we were following the go to school, go do this, go find a career that's going to make you a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And so he followed that. He's like, bah. And he was like, yeah, smart kid. I'm going to go take business. But then he realized all of a sudden that he didn't feel it.
Good for him.
Now what he's doing, he feels. And so for students out there, like when you feel something is like a part of you, go explore that.
Without a doubt.
Go explore it, find a way, ask questions, talk to people, talk to teachers, talk to coaches. How do I do this? How do I get into that program? Is there any teacher on here? Be curious, because you never know what you're going to tap into. And that's the sort of thing that, when you see the schools like starting to bring other things into the fold, you're like, this is refreshing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like you said, I wish I would have had something like that. I had photography and I just loved it. And that experience to me was like, I love photography. I've always worked with a camera. I'm not a professional. It's just something that I really like to do.
Yeah.
So whenever I get the chance to go take pictures, I got to go to some of the games and I'd bring my camera and I'd be like, cool, let's go take some pictures. Right? Yeah. I'd give the camera to a player and be like, here, you go take some pictures. And all of a sudden you plant that little seed, like, hey coach, can I grab that camera again? Oh, you like? Yeah, go ahead, man. Go take some more pictures.
That's it, man.
You open it up.
That's it. I would say, what you just highlighted is probably the main conversation I have with seniors throughout the years. And I tell them, I said, look, you're about to be 18 or already 18. Now it's like a lot of things are going to open up. The whole world is going to potentially open up for you, right? Get as much exposure to anything that you have a slight bit of interest potentially in.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, don't do it again.
Exactly.
But go say you tried it out and see. Because hopefully, end of the day, I said, look, if you have hard work and discipline, you could make it in anything. I really do believe that to an extent, right? Yeah. But if you want to separate yourself from the best and be, do really, really well, and not only do really well, just be happy. Yeah. Just be overall, like that's what success is happiness. Mm-hmm. You can't quantify it. It's a feeling.
No dollar amount.
And everyone's different. You're waking up in the morning and, that's your life. Yeah. Right? It's not my life. It's not the next person's life. Yeah. So you're the one that has to wake up every morning and feel how you want to feel about what you're doing. 100%. So I tell the seniors going into the next thing, I say, I don't care if you're in the 4-year university or you're going to JUCO or you don't know what you want to do. Go try a bunch of different things. Yeah. And you don't have to, there's no specific date that says you have to have this figured out by the time you're 20 years old, 22 years old, and whatever it is. If you change your mind throughout the process, then change it. All I say is it's a lot easier to change the earlier you decide to make that decision as opposed to when you're older, married, family, financial obligations. Like life can get tough, it's stressful at times. But just expose yourself. expose yourself and follow some passion. Because you never know what job opportunities are out there. Like, you might not know that the perfect job for you actually exists.
Yeah.
And I find out new things every day that like, oh, that's a job. Like, that's cool.
Yeah. Like, you get paid to do that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So, just really, end of the day is you just want the best and the happiness for these kids. So you preach what you can, and you hope they absorb some of it. And the no better compliment is when they come back and say, like, thanks for telling me this, or that one stuck with me, or you can't ask for more than that. So
you really can't, and when we were talking earlier, you asked about kind of why I wanted to get into this, and a lot of it has to do with those conversations that we had early on, having stayed in contact with players over the years, and then you realize, like, there's still just that admiration for that little bit of time that you spent together, but then you can go back on that and go, like, genuinely made an impact in someone's life. Like you said, it might not go for everybody, but even if it's just one person, if one kid comes out of your program and goes, Coach, you made a difference in my life. Thank you for opening my eyes to something that I would have never seen, right? Whether it's now or whether it's 10 years down the road, just to hear that, again, you can't put monetary value on that, right? That
Absolutely.
For me fills my happiness bucket, where I'm like, that feels good.
Yeah.
No amount of money. I mean, granted, you can go buy some really nice stuff out there and some toys, right, that are going to put a smile on your face. But those things are, I don't go and buy someone's, trust. You can't do that, right? It's got to come with action.
It's the ultimate reward, and it's why I think anyone that coaches high school ball specifically, like, if you're not in it for that reason, then I think you're in it for the wrong reason. Yeah. Yep. So even the kids that you look at, from afar, the old players that have succeeded, and maybe you didn't have that personal relationship as good as you've had with others,
sure.
Or whatever reason, but just to be a fan of theirs now and see, like, good for you, like, you're doing something really positive.
Yep.
And I really hope, happiness to all these guys. So, you hit it, man. That was it. So
cool. Well, I know you guys are, again, gearing up for the season. You guys have a fundraiser, if I'm not mistaken, that you guys are working to actively, trying to get some funds for the program. So
yes, sir.
If you want to send me that information, what I'll do is, once this thing goes out, we'll put the link on there as well to share it with people, and then share the video with the team. Let everybody go and, spread the word, let people know, and wherever we can find any type of help for the program. I think the more that you can get the message out, the better.
Appreciate it.
But I think you guys are gonna have a good group of kids based on that turnout, man. I was like, holy moly, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, I think
excitement.
Yeah, I really do think that's not just the coaches or the program, that it's a lot of it is the former players, the precedent that they've set.
Right.
I think the younger kids are always looking at the older guys, even when they leave, then they remember, like, whatever impact that person had, and the maturity level of some of these guys, they do look up to them, and so really hoping that this is kind of going in the right direction. And that turnout was crazy. I've never had a preseason meeting with, I think we counted like 65 kids. For us, that's a lot of kids.
It's a great problem to have.
Yeah, it's more, I'll tell you what, that first COVID year we had, what was it, 2020? I think we had like 15 kids on the roster.
Wow. No
JV, one team. Whoever showed up made it. It was the first year back from COVID. That was a tough year. And to highlight on your point about the transition from middle school to high school, and then high school to college, is imagine coaching during the COVID years, and then you have you're in the 8th grade, and then you're doing Zoom class for 2 years. and then you show up as a junior, to a high school, and
Oh, dude.
that was I felt for a lot of those kids, and
Yeah.
that nothing, what you mentioned, nothing, exemplified that more than seeing that.
You know what? And it's such a blur and almost an intentional blur in our minds.
Yeah.
Because we don't ever want to live through something like
absolutely,
that again.
Absolutely.
But my God, the scholar athletes are, just getting ready to transition, and then boom, like the world is shut down.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you would have thought, like, the Zoom classes online, you stay at home, you would have thought that, with a lot of the kids, the grades would go up. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to, socialize to an extent. But everyone was different. And, we had that was a tough year. I lost some kids to continuation school because of it.
Yeah.
Or they decided school wasn't for them. It was tough to see. And then the ones that did stick it out is like, there's a big maturity gap and kind of social skill set that it's much harder to adapt.
Dude, big time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that, man.
Yeah, that was the trip as a coach.
They got to do a case study on people that, maybe 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, to see how that's impacted them. Because I had blinders onto that one, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad because a lot of them didn't have that full, high school experience that a lot of us get. And, I had a positive one, so maybe it's good for some of these kids that hate. Or looking back, I know I talked to a lot of adults like, oh, I hated high school.
Yeah.
But it was just what an experience that was.
That's wild.
Yeah. So
you're gonna send me down a rabbit hole now, looking up.
No, I know.
I know. It's good. It's good because it's a good call out. You know what I mean? Like I can't imagine having that happen to me. Like I don't know how I would have responded personally.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Imagine like you're
brutal.
You're looking forward to high school soccer or whatever sport, and then it's like, oh, there's no season next year. Or then the next year you're doing testing twice a week, and you're in a class with somebody that didn't get vaccinated. You're out for 10 days.
Jeez.
It was that was a tough year to coach.
Wow.
No continuity whatsoever. It's like
that just underscores even more the point now that from that point to now, and I mean it's taken some time. We're 4 years removed from that.
Yeah.
And to not being able to field a team to now having an entire room packed. Hats off to you and program, and like you said, former players that have kind of continued to have that presence, and really just at the end of the day, if they're bought in, again, like you said, the players remember. And so as a freshman, senior, like, they were working their butts off.
Yeah.
They were listening to everything the coach said. They had a successful season. So there's no way that you walking in as a freshman can go, well, I don't want to do that. Of course you want to do that. You want to compete. Like, that's the highest level. These guys are working.
Yeah.
So it rubs off. Absolutely.
Super contagious.
Yeah.
So I credit a lot of those guys with the trend that the program's been going in. I mean, to highlight some of the, second place in league last season, very close to the league championship. I went to NCS second round, back-to-back years, WAC Shoreline Championship the year before that, NCS second round.
Yeah.
I think before that, a league championship was 11 years before that.
Yeah.
So to see, us get that chip and then contend for it the next year and hopefully do it again this year. But everything's been going in the right direction. So I'm hoping we can continue that.
Yeah, we'll just keep doing what you're doing, man. You guys are doing a hell of a job over there, and I'll be able to chip in where I can and help you guys out.
Appreciate it.
For all the Arroyo and San Lorenzo guys that would wonder why I would be at Hayward. Just so you know, my brother is coaching the JV team there, and blood is thicker than water. So when he calls me and goes, "I need your help," I'm right there, and I went and helped them out last season. We got to have a lot of fun with the kids over at Hayward. And
you're a huge impact.
You guys
huge
are
help,
awesome, man.
Huge help. So especially with the keepers and just another positive mind that these kids look up to. And I think we got a good core over there. And man, whatever you could donate time, we'll gladly, with open arms,
We'll
please.
figure some stuff out, man, for sure.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
So,
Coach, thank you for your
it
time.
was a pleasure.
Had a blast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be continuing this project of talking to former coaches, good friends of mine, whether it's in sport, whether it's in work and life. We're just going to continue this process. And more than anything else, just continue to try and inspire. And, again, if the message can get across to one person and impact their lives, I feel like we've been able to do our job. So everybody that's out there, just trying to make an impact in one person's life, whether it's saying something nice, whether it's, a wave or a smile. Like, you never know what someone's going through, and you never know the power of your actions. So just be nice to people.
Absolutely.
It really means a lot. So thank you again.
Thank you,
really
Coach.
appreciate
Thank you
taking
for
the time.
your
Thank
work.
you for inviting me into your home, man. I know you
Anytime.
guys are working on a lot of stuff, but this is a great opportunity for me to sit down and talk to you, and it means a lot to me. So
No, I appreciate it.
appreciate
And
it.
thank you for all your work and putting a positive message out there. And
Yep.
I've seen it on the field. I know what you bring to these kids. So, and I know it's a sacrifice. It's not easy. So thank you for your time. And I know the kids that understand it, they don't take it for granted either.
For sure.
So
Cool.
appreciate you.
All right, brother.
It's a
All
pleasure.
right, folks. That does it for the Coaching Rebellion. Again, Parshan, Rayatkah. You guys can catch them at Hayward High. And then we'll send out a link for everybody so you guys can get on that fundraiser so we can get these kids the proper gear that they need. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.